Welcome to another edition of the Chicks on the Right podcast. We are here with Zach Abraham, who is the Chief Investment Officer for Bulwark Capital and financial guy extraordinaire. This week, I have an assignment from my 15-year-old daughter.
I
She is
love it.
nothing like me, Zach. Like when I was 15, I was thinking about blue eyeshadow and Duran Duran and like all things 1986, you know?
Yeah,
My
yeah.
daughter my daughter is asking me the other day, she was like, "Mom, I have this friend of mine, her friend Emma is already investing. She has like $10,000 in an IRA," she was telling her, because she does the stock market stuff. And she was like, "I want to do this too. I'm really interested in it. I want to learn how to play the stock market. How can we do this?" And I was like, okay." Now she already has a checking account and she has a savings account. And so like when she gets checks for her birthday and stuff like that, I always tell her, I'm like, try to pay yourself first and put like 10 to 15% of whatever you get, for your birthdays, put it into savings and then whatever. I don't care what you do with the rest, but try to save a little bit each time you get money from whoever or whatever. So she
Yep.
does that. So she has her little Chase, checking account. She's got her little app and she does all of her things and she learns how to manage money. And no one ever has to balance like a checkbook anymore, but at least that's how kids are learning how to manage their money, right? But
Yeah.
when it comes to this stock stuff, I'm not very well versed on stock. Like I use you to help me with that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Right, right.
But Gwen is very interested. She's like, "I want to know how this works. I want to see it. I want to do it myself. It's kind of like a game." And, kids are really into games. So Fidelity has a little, I guess it's like an app for teens, 13 to 17, I believe is where it's like a youth account.
Mhm,
And it's
mhm,
kind of like a mini brokerage account and it gives them training wheels. And so teens
mhm.
get to invest real money in stocks, ETFs, Fidelity funds, stuff like that. But I think parents have to have an account themselves and then they can set their teens up. I'm curious to know like what you think about all of this. If there are alternatives to that, what if parents don't have Fidelity? Are there other things that they can use? Like this is what she wants to know. I'm asking all these questions for her
Yeah.
on her behalf. She
No,
would
I
like to
love
know.
it. I love it. So, first of all, funny, I've got a 15-year-old working in the office right now. He's a kid of one of our friends
So
that's got an interest in
ambitious.
that's got an interest in finance. And I l- well, I don't think it's a surprise to most people that I love what I do, that I'm really
Yeah.
into it. But I also love explaining it to kids, and I love explaining it to like, because it's not, um, I totally get it. I think it's one of those things that's really intimidating from the outside looking in, like, oh, I don't know how it works. And the one thing I tell
It is
people
for
all the
me.
time is,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
well, and part of it is the ecosystem built around it, which is so much of that. And now this will sound like I'm selling against myself because I do this for a living, but um, so much of it, I am convinced, is vernacular that's been put in place to make Wall Street people sound smart and to make the average person sound like they, think that they've got no idea what they're doing.
Right.
Right. And I always tell my clients, I go, you understand this more than you think you do. You're just not up on the words and the catchphrases, right? It's like a different
Okay. Well,
language.
that makes me feel a little bit better, but
Yeah.
it's scary. Like it's really
Yeah.
scary. There's a lot of stuff you're like, I don't know what that is. I don't this fund, that fund, like that kind of account. Like it is hard to navigate and like where to get started. How do you get started on it? What should you invest? I mean, that's why obviously people need somebody like you, but I think it's really important for kids to at least have that education.
Yeah. Yeah. So right out of the gate, now we've looked, there's a bunch of different tools out there. The one that I have found that I think has been the best, Fidelity's got a good way to do it. But the one that was even easier for younger kids was this green light that my wife
Oh
and I
yeah.
use.
Yeah, we'd use
And
Greenlight for a while with Gwen. Yeah.
yeah, and it's really easy to move money back and forth. I also like their trading platform because you don't have to put a quote unquote enough money, because the trading platform lets you buy partial shares, right? So
Okay.
like let's say the kids want to buy a share of, let's say the kids have 150 bucks in their account, right? And they
Right,
want to
right.
buy a share of Google. Okay, well, Google's trading at 180, right? So that'd be so what it allows them to do, they can buy $20 worth of Google stock.
Okay.
So I really love that. My kids use that. My youngest is the most interested in it. He's the one that will most often bring me his portfolio and go, "Hey, Dad, let's move some things around. Let's,
Yeah.
pick some
Okay, see,
stocks here.
Zach, I had no idea that they had an investment part of it. I used Greenlight
Yes.
simply as like a checking account before I moved her over into Chase. I had no idea. So this is news to me. I'm an idiot. So this is news to me and maybe news to other people. Maybe I'm not the only idiot. So it has an investment part of it that you can actually give kids like $200 and say, here, now
Yep.
go play in the market.
Yeah, and then you
Okay.
can do stuff. So we've looked at the kids a couple times, been like, okay, now we've made some nice returns here, right? So what are we going to do? And they're like, oh, well, I want to buy this, or and just teaching them like, okay, letting them watch that account grow and be like, oh, now I started with 50, but now there's
Right.
150, and I can go buy something. And
Hmm.
the other thing it does is it opens up conversations and it helps them be and it's such a strange thing because we live in the internet world where we've got all of this, right? We've got access to more information than we've ever had,
Yep.
than human beings have
Exactly.
ever had. And
Right.
yet financial literacy, I think is just as bad, if not the worst as I've ever seen it, especially
Agreed.
among young kids, right?
Agreed. Yep.
And they all are aware of nicer things. Like for instance, when I was a kid, I didn't know what a Maybach Mercedes was. Kids
Right.
today do, right? So there's an awareness of more expensive things,
Mhm.
but the idea of what they can afford, how that works, it's just as alien to them as it's ever been, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the one thing I love about walking through stocks and explaining it to the kids is I think it provides a really good understanding of just the way money works.
yeah,
For instance, Dad, what kind of stocks are you investing in? And explaining them the difference between chasing what is popular today, which is what most people are doing, and being more of a long-term fundamentalist, fundamental investor, which is looking to buy things at values that are less than what we believe the intrinsic value of that investment to be. Warren Buffett's got a great line, which I think it's missed way too often in investing, which is the number one most important factor that will decide the success or failure of an investment or how much the success or failure of an investment. There's nothing more important than what price you paid, right? And so keeping that idea, kind of a weird thing. We all sit there and go, really? And then you start thinking about it. Yes, right? The less you pay for any investment, that's where
mhm,
the win is made. It's not when you sell it, it's when you buy it, right?
totally. Yeah,
And so getting them to understand that, getting them to understand the way that money floats around. Why is this stock at this price? And then do it, well, this is how much profit it made. Here's interest rates and just showing them how these things all work. And you don't need to be one thing I've told a bunch of my other friends is like, hey, you don't need to be an expert to teach your kid. You guys can go down this path together,
yeah,
right? And learn it together and kind of, work your way through it and figure it out and ask those questions. And um, people are like, well, what should I let them buy? And I'm like, you know what? Honestly, some of the best ways to learn how to do this, don't be too worried about them winning or losing. Some of the best ways to teach people, it's like anything else. The best way to
yeah,
teach somebody how to manage money is we have a joke around here. Thank God I've never done it with a client account, but I don't think that you're a good money manager until you've blown an account up.
right,
Now,
right.
I think it takes
Or a
more than
good
that.
athlete until you failed, or a good
Right.
anything until you've fallen on your face, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
Uh-huh.
it's funny because you learn over time. There's so many little things where they'll be like, well, what about that? And I'm like, oh no, we're not going to do that. And they're like,
Right.
why? And I'm going, well, because that's bit me before. Right. Like, so
Right,
you,
because I
right.
learned. Because
Yeah.
I learned by falling down,
Right.
exactly. So do
And
you think
so
are any of your kids interested in finance because of this stuff, or do you think just intrinsically they're like maybe 1 or 2 of them are interested just because dad does it?
I think that the one, my youngest, is
He
interested in
may.
it.
He
He's
may.
got it. Yeah, he's got an
Yeah.
interest in it.
He's
I
got
think
the
my
bug.
middle, yeah, he does, and
Yeah.
he's just kind of bent that way.
Yeah.
We'll see the way it plays out. I
Did
mean,
you do
because
that?
he's
Were you like that, Zach? Like early on, or
well, we didn't
was
have
this
it.
something?
Yeah, but we didn't have like there was no way for me to trade stocks or do anything like that. I
Right,
mean, I
right.
remember, I think I shorted my first stock at like 17 years old.
Oh my gosh, but
Um,
see, that's still like, I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't at 17, I didn't care about any of that stuff. I had no
Well, I grew
seriously.
up, but my dad. So I've grown up in the business, like
Okay.
literally. Yeah, my dad had a brokerage firm. I've got pictures of me being like in a crib in a brokerage firm, right?
Oh my
So
gosh. Okay,
yeah,
well, that explains some of it
yeah,
then.
and but it was always there was something about especially value investing, and I can't really explain why, but there was something as a kid that was so intriguing to me about the idea of buying something that everybody else has thrown away and doesn't think is worth anything,
Uh-huh.
and that you know that it is, and then turning back around later and going, see, we were, there was just something that was so exciting about that. I don't know why. It
Yeah.
sounds weird to say it's exciting, but
No, I mean, it's
yeah.
really cool. But you were either gonna do it and you were gonna grab onto it and you were gonna do it yourself, or you're gonna go the complete opposite direction and become like an underwater basket weaver or something. You know what I mean?
Right. Which, by the way, I'm sure you can get a degree for these days.
You
Right.
totally can. I
Yeah.
absolutely am
You
positive
can,
that you can.
yeah, you can spend
Yes,
250 grand learning how to be an underwater
without
basket weaver.
question.
Yeah.
It's probably like lesbian underwater basket
Yeah.
weaving,
You know,
I'm
the
sure.
other thing that, and this sounds kind of crazy, but I'm probably going to do this with my kids too. And I think
Yes.
it's another great lesson. I would have, if my kids are running a trading account, I would have them buy a little bit of cryptocurrency, a little bit of crypto.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what a lot of, like, the Fidelities and stuff, they don't do, which I thought was
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
And here's why. I think the vast majority of things in the crypto world, and I always get pushback when I say this. I don't really understand why, but I think the vast majority of the things in the crypto world are completely worthless. Okay.
Okay.
And this sounds bizarre, but one of the best ways to teach somebody about investing and about money is to have them lose it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that that is such an important thing for them to see something lose substantial value and realize this isn't just a game,
And you
right?
think
We're not.
that generation thinks that crypto is like the shiny object right now?
Oh, and look, I know people. I was listening to a previously what a guy that's considered very well respected in the industry and very conservative. I heard an interview recently where he was saying that people should own 25 to 40% of their portfolio in crypto.
Oh
And
my
I'm
god.
no, and I'm watching him say this, and I'm like, you're out of your mind. You're
Oh
out
my
of your mind. And here's
wow.
why. Here's why. You don't know what it is, right?
Right.
This is their retirement portfolio. You
Yeah.
can't, this isn't black box time. This isn't, hey, let's throw 300 grand in this and see if it pans out,
Oh my
right?
god, it's
Um,
terrifying.
no,
Yeah.
and there's and look, the problem is so many people are anesthetized to the risks in crypto, and the one way they justify it is they go, well, it's gone up. And you're like,
Mhm.
yeah, that's what people were saying about tulips in 1600 until they quit going up,
Yeah.
right? The other people, and I've had that conversation, they go, tulips, what are you talking about? And you're like, dude, okay, do yourself a favor and go home and read about tulip mania. Okay, this is not a new thing that you're doing, right? There is nothing new under the sun. One of my favorite Bible verses, right? Solomon talking about there is nothing new under the sun. You have not invented anything, right?
Mhm.
We have seen it before. It's happened with tulips. It's happened with sardines. It's happened with all kinds of weird stuff, right? When I was a kid coming up, it wasn't crypto, but it was .com. Any company that IPO'd with the name .com in their title, the IPO up on 150 to 200% every single time, first day of action, sometimes more, right? And everybody
Mhm.
thought, hey, we found a way of investing where you can't lose. The
Right.
minute you hear that, grab your chips and head for the door, right?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Um, and just teaching the kids that, right? Understanding that money is a fluid thing and you're gonna make it, you're gonna lose it at times. That's the game, right? And to not be afraid of that, but to be aware of it. And then also trying to keep them in that mindset of, and you see this everywhere today. What do you make? Oh, I make X amount of dollars. Okay, why does your life look like you make 20% more than that? Right? Your life
Yes.
should look, ideally, it should look like you make 30 or 40% of what you make, right? Buffer,
Yeah.
quality
Yeah.
of life,
Yes.
all those kinds of things. And, I just think that one of the best ways to teach your kids that is through, running through that, investing. And then when really big shocks happen, like coronavirus or like a great recession or whatever, the kids have something, palatable. They've got something tangible that they can actually see. And they're like, wow, people have lost. You know what I mean? I think it helps them put context around
Totally.
things.
Yeah. I just think in
So,
general, like I know that Gwen, my daughter, I know that the youngest, our older ones too, our older ones and our youngest is they're just way smarter than we ever were, which is a good thing. And I think that speaks volumes because a lot of times we hear that this generation is dumb or they're dumbed down or they're being dumbed down because of it. They're not. I think that they actually are way more astute than we ever were, which is a good thing because they do have some of these tools and I hope that they're using them in the best way possible. Parents can use these tools like Greenlight. I'm going to start using them. I think that one is probably the one that we're going to use to do the investing stuff to try to navigate those waters with her. Because I remember the interface with the checking and the saving, all that. And I like that. I like the
Yeah.
Greenlight. So we'll try that and see what happens. And she can play around a
Well,
little bit in that. I think that's great.
and it gives them little cards, right? Like
Yeah.
little debit cards that they can actually use places and do things.
Yes.
And so it's just that, it's this, it's that practical, now we're mixing in balancing a checkbook
Mm-hmm.
and balancing a debit card and payments with investing
Right.
and just like anything else, the more you see those things interact, the more you see those things whirling around and working together, the better idea it's going to give you
Right.
of the world around you. And you got, like I said, the kids are smarter
They
these days,
are. Yeah.
but at the same time, on the financial side of it, like I said, so much of it is geared toward the material side of money as opposed to the working side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, teaching them to understand. I have these conversations with my daughter's friends. My daughter's 15, and I have my conversations with her and her friends all the time where I'm like, guys, it's not just about what you can buy, right? It's about
Mm-hmm.
owning your assets, them not owning you, right? And, just all these things that we learn, and we learn either because we listen to somebody that's a really good example, or we learn the old fashioned way because we do it wrong.
It's
And
usually the old fashioned way. I mean, let's
yeah,
get real. And
yeah,
that will be learned probably in the next 5 to 15 years when they learn it the old fashioned way.
yeah,
So now if you could actually do seminars with kids, I think that would be amazing. You probably should think about doing that, Zach. But I know you have one coming up on July 24th with adults. I guess they could
yes.
bring their kids if they wanted to. Tell us
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. So we're doing it's same as the road shows we do before, but this one we're really tailoring it toward the environment we're living in, talking about like, how urgently we really need. There's another one we saw today. Okay, so it's the what we call the Warren Buffett valuation indicator. And Warren Buffett has always looked at the value of the US stock market as a percentage of the amount of economic activity that we put out. Okay, that metric just the other day, I believe it was just yesterday, hit a new high, a new all-time high. And again, it doesn't say that there's panic and you need to sell everything and get out. What it does mean though is the composition of the portfolios that have worked for much of the last 15 years, like this year, the US is one of the worst performing markets in the world. And one of the reasons that we're having a great year is because we're internationally diversified. And most people are not at all. They're not at all. They're all loaded up. So we're going to walk through that. We're going to walk through the opportunities that we see in dollar alternatives like precious metals, the opportunities that we see in international markets, lifetime type opportunities in international markets because they've never been cheaper in comparison to US stocks. So just walking through that, showing everybody, hey, here's how we do things. Here's how we manage risk. This is how we, try to prevent against the big losses. But also, the world has just changed. And if history is prologue, this is what we need to be looking at. And these are the kind of changes that we need to make in the portfolios to be successful going forward. So,
That's
lot,
awesome.
lot, lot of good stuff.
And that's July 24th at 3:30 Pacific, right?
You
And
got it.
where can they go sign up for that?
bulwarkcapitalmanagement.com. We'll have a dialog box that'll pop up. You can sign up for it. There's no cost. There's no obligation. We're not calling you on Saturday afternoons trying to. And truthfully, one of the reasons we do this is because it's an interface. People can get kind of like a halfway into the firm and understand how we do things, how we think, but without having to make a commitment financially, right?
Mhm.
And the reason we like to do that is this is a partnership. And in order to know if a partnership's going to work, we got to feel each other out. We got to know how each other thinks. And I think this
Right.
is a
It's
great
like a
opportunity
coffee
for.
date. Go have a coffee
Yes,
date with
there
Zach.
you go. Yeah,
Seriously,
it's
do that.
just
Check it out, you
lunch.
guys.
Yeah,
Exactly. Check it out. You guys definitely do that. Thank you, Zach. We appreciate your
you
time
bet.
today.
You bet. Thank you as always.
Investment advisory services offered through Trek Financial LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. Any references to performance of securities are thought to be materially accurate, and actual performance may differ. Investments involve risk and are not guaranteed. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Trek 24308.